Hello, welcome to Zigmatech Learning Hub. I will be your instructor for fine art. You can call it visual art as well, cultural and creative art. Now for this class, we are going to be taking our exercises from the ExamGuide app. Now if you don't have this application installed already in your device, I will advise you download this app in order for you to follow along this class. Now, ExamGuide is a leading educational app that helps students prepare adequately for exams, for various exams, such as UTME, post-UTME, WASE, GCE, KCPE, IJMB, JUPEB, Calbepedia, BESE, JSCE, NCEE, NECO, to mention but a few. You can download the app from our website www.examguide.com, or you can download it as well as using your Google Play Store. Please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to be updated on new videos as we upload. Now, if you're ready for today's class, okay, let's get started. Okay, welcome to another brand new topic for today. Well, today we are going to look at contemporary Nigerian art. Now this is a creative art class and we're going to look at contemporary Nigerian artists. So let's move into our specific objective. Now at the end of this topic, you'll be able to, number one, define what contemporary art is. You know what's the meaning of contemporary art. Then number two, you discuss how art started in Nigeria. In fact, number three, we state who brought art into Nigeria. We'll talk about it into Nigerian schools per se, and then we'll list the names of Nigeria contemporary artists and their works. By the end of this topic, there are a lot of Nigerian contemporary artists, but we're going to take them one after the other so that you get them as we go. All right. So now, what is contemporary art? Now, contemporary art refers to the era that evolved after the traditional form of art. You remember in our last class, we talked about the traditional art, you know, the Ibuku arts, the Ife arts, the Tinseido, to mention but a few, the 10 of them. Immediately after this era, now there were a set of people that emerged, that came out after this era, and they are regarded to be the contemporary Nigerian artists. So we are going to look at them one after the other. Now, like I said, contemporary Nigerian art is the art that is referred to the era that evolved after the traditional form of art. Okay. Now, the introduction of teaching of art into Nigerian schools. The introduction of teaching of art into Nigerian schools, as in who brought art into Nigerian schools. Now, the very person that brought art into Nigerian schools is known as Chief Aina Onabolu. Now, Chief Aina Onabolu was born in the year 1882 and he died in 1963. Was the first Nigerian to be exposed to the Western education in art. Onabolu had previous prestigious and has impressive patronage from notable personalities whom he painted their portraits. He later traveled to London and Paris, where he earned fine arts diploma and art teacher certificate respectively. Now you see, Aina Onabolu, he made some impressive paintings, and then he was patronized by some expatriates. He made a lot of portraits. Now, he had teaching experience at King's College, among other schools. Through these appointments, Aina Onabolu highlights the importance of art in general education. His effect and effort became fruitful when some European government officers that he had painted their portrait commissioned him to arrange a program in Nigerian school. So you see, because of how good he was, because of the effect he has made in Nigerian art, he was given the commission now to introduce this into Nigerian school. Now let's go further to see what then happened. So he brought Kenneth Morel, who is a white man, he's an expatriate, to keep up and to keep teaching art classes in schools. They started teaching art classes in Lagos and gradually moved to Ibadan. From Ibadan, they moved to Umuahia. From Umuahia, they moved to other schools in Nigeria. That is how art spread in Nigeria. Their teaching led to the discovery of notable Nigerian contemporary artists like the likes of Ben Enwonwu, amongst others. Now, as we proceed, I'm going to tell us more about Ben Enwonwu, his works, and some of the strong things he did to affect Nigerian art in the country based on what we are learning now. Okay, so now there was led to the emergence of notable schools known for art education in Nigeria. They were the Nigerian College of Arts, Science and Technology, which is in Zaria, now known as the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and the Yaba College, now referred to as the Yaba College of what? Technology. So these are the schools that emerged after Aina Onabolu brought in some of these expatriate friends to teach art. Now let's look at art disciplines and styles of Aina Onabolu. Chief Aina Onabolu was a painter and an art educator. He was a renowned painter whose academic paintings were very naturalistic. Some of his paintings are very naturalistic. He remained one of the greatest portrait painter in the contemporary Nigerian artists, which Nigerian artist has ever had since he started painting. Now, among his great paintings are the portraits of Right Honorable Oluwale, a minister seated and dressed in a dark blue, red and white robe with a Bible under his right palm, with a Bible under his right palm. Now, he was the very person that painted this portrait. However, this portrait was painted in the year 1925. That was when Chief Aina Onabolu painted this. Now, the second portrait he made was the portrait of the chief that is seated in a well-embroidered traditional dress with a royal cap and a white horse whip at his hand. Now, the portrait indicates the noble posture with robust cheek. Now, he also created another painting. He also made another painting, another portrait of Mrs. Cypress Savage, done with watercolor in 1906. It is a serious and a very, it's a very artistic work that Chief Aina Onabolu did with respect to art. It is a serious looking image of a slim waist young woman dressed in corporate fashion of colonial period. So that was exactly how the portrait looked. Okay. Now let's look at the general contribution that Mr. Aina Onabolu, or Chief Aina Onabolu, made with respect to art. Now, Chief Aina Onabolu started receiving commission for painting as early as 1902. He was able to prove to the Europeans that African artists could equally contribute to human civilization through art. Onabolu was the first art educator in Nigeria, the first art educator in Nigeria's school system. He was regarded as the father of Nigerian modern art and contemporary art because he laid the foundation upon which other renowned artists were built their knowledge on. So we now regard him to be the father of art in Nigeria. Now, Aina Onabolu encouraged the government of that time to employ expatriate art teachers to teach art in some Nigerian schools. Example, some of the expatriates that they employed was Kenneth Morel and Dennis Duda, to mention but a few. Aina Onabolu also made art to be recognized in Nigerian school system and fought for it up to the extent that it was included into Nigerian school system curriculum. He was honored with the several chieftaincy title at home and as well appointed as a member of the most prestigious and distinguished order of the British Empire in 1956. Now, all this was some of the achievements Aina Onabolu made with respect to art. He was the father of art. He made sure he made the government to employ expatriates, some other white men, to come down to Nigeria to teach art. So that is why we are studying art in Nigeria today. All right. Now let's do a quick summary of Chief Aina Onabolu. Aina Onabolu is an art educator. He was born in Ijebu Ode in Ogun State in 1982, and he died in February 1963 in Lagos. Started practicing art in 1900, that is in 1900. Traveled to England in 1920 to study art, and also in Paris. Got diploma in art education and in painting. His academic paintings were very naturalistic. These are some of Aina Onabolu painting. Beautiful painting. So you see, at that time, he was able to both form a balance, all his proportions and everything are accurate. So now, some of his popular paintings include the portrait of Right Reverend Oluwale. Also, he painted Mrs. Spencer's Danger and a chief, to mention but a few. He received the first commission between 1902 and 1903. He taught art in many schools in Nigeria and encouraged government to employ expatriates to teach art in Nigerian schools. He's regarded as the father of Nigerian art and the father of Nigerian modern contemporary art. He was honored with a lot of chieftaincy titles and most distinguished Order of the British Empire in 1953. So this also is the chief, and this is also the Chief Spencer, and then the chief dressed in a very colorful regalia. Now these are old pictures. There's no way you compare the quality of the pictures with what we're having now. So now this is just to bring back the memories of some of his work alive. All right. So now the next person we are going to look at is a painter and a cartoonist. His name is known as what? Akinola Lasekan. Akinola Lasekan is a painter and also a cartoonist. He was born in 1916 and he died in 1972. All right. So now let's take a general look at the contribution of Akinola Lasekan with respect to art. Now he helped to educate other contemporary artists as a lecturer in some of the high institutions like the University of Nigeria and Nsukka, and also the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University in Ile-Ife. Akinola Lasekan was a piano member of the newspaper cartoon. He was the chief cartoonist. Let me use that word. The chief cartoonist in Nigerian newspaper. He was the very person that makes some of the cartoons you see in ancient newspaper through the West African Pilot, newspapers like the West African Pilot, where he was producing daily cartoons on social, political events. He was elected as a fellow of a Royal Society of Art in London in 1962. He had several art exhibitions locally and overseas. So these are some of the general, impact he made with respect to art in our society. Now, let's look at the total summary of Akinola Lasekan. Akinola Lasekan is a painter, he's a cartoonist, he's a textile designer, he's a graphics designer. He was born in Owo, Ondo State in 1916 and he died in 1972. He started practicing art from tender age on his own. He won many art competitions organized by the government. He worked as a cartoon illustrator or as an illustrator, both to Bible stories and even on calendars with the CMS bookshop from 1933 to 1940. Akinola Lasekan went to England in 1945. He studied art. He studied at Homer Summit School of Art and worked at overseas, in advertising agencies, like, for example, in London. So that is where he practiced some of his skills and some of his works. So he also belonged to the school of classical realism. So which means he makes some classical realistic painting. Some classical realistic painting. He used to make accurate anatomical and realistic painting in bright colors. So most times his painting are so real that you think is photographic. You understand? So we now regard some of his painting as naturalistic. Now he is also a lecturer in some high institution in Nigeria. He was elected a fellow of the Royal Society of Art in London. So these are some of the great achievements that Akinola Lasekan did with respect to art in Nigeria. So let's look at some of his paintings. You see how beautiful and how real this lady here looks with a dark skin. Currently, we call her a dark skin girl or black skin girl, or whatever. So, and now look at the market scene. Akinola Lasekan painted while he was still alive. And this is also another powerful portrait that was painted by Akinola Lasekan. Now, let's look at my own Professor Ben Enwonwu. Professor Ben Enwonwu was a painter. He's also a sculptor. He was born in the year 1921. A handsome guy. So, a painter and a sculptor, strong artist. Now, Ben Enwonwu served as a government supervisor and later, we are talking about some of the general impact he made with respect to art, and later as an advisor to the federal government on art matters. He was appointed professor in fine art by the University of Ife. He has taken part in many art exhibitions within and outside Nigeria. He practically, single-handedly makes some outstanding portraits and paintings that are even up to now that are still standing. And he's a lecturer. He's a lecturer. He's also literally, some of his literal works on art has always been good reference material for current artists. Not only that he's a contemporary Nigerian artist, but
is a contemporary Nigerian artist, like in Nigeria. He's also a contemporary Nigerian artist in Africa in general. So he's an epitome. He's a force to reckon with. All right. So now let's look at some of let's do a quick summary of Ben Enwonwu. Now, Ben Enwonwu is a renowned sculptor and also a painter. He was born in Onitsha in 1921 to a traditional carver. Taught traditional carving by his father in his early years. Then he got more inspiration from Kenneth Morel, which was the very white man that Aina Onabolu brought to Nigeria to educate some of our Nigerian artists. Now, Kenneth Morel at the government college Omahia and Ibadan. Now, Aina Onabolu also studied art both in Nigeria and in abroad. More into sculpture than painting. Like, he's more into sculpture than painting. Now, he uses mostly bronze and wood for what? For his sculpture. That is some of the things that Aina Onabolu did. All right. His styles are between naturalistic and abstract. So he mixes both naturalistic forms and abstract forms together to create his image, effortless images that he made. So he mixed both naturalistic and what abstract forms to create his image. He expresses himself in Nigerian culture using Western techniques. Like, he expresses himself in Nigerian culture using Western techniques. Some of the commissioned he did was the bronze statue of Sango at the power holding company, as in Nepal. We call it Nepal. Sango in Nepal, power holding company. And also, he also did what we call the Anyanwu, which is outside the National Museum, and the Queen Elizabeth II, all in Lagos. Another is the Risen Christ, or the Risen Christ, which is on a wooden door panel as the UI Ibadan. So he's also a lecturer, and some of his writings, some of his works are good reference materials to, if you're looking for those of you that want to push further in studying art, some of his writings his literal works are practical works are used for reference materials. So that is that about Aina Onabolu. Now, if you look at him here, this is when he's carving, and this is the very Anyanwu that is placed in the National Museum in Lagos. And these are some of his paintings. But mind you, he's more of a sculptor than a painter. So Ben Enwonwu is more of a sculptor than a painter. Now, the next person we'll talk about is Bruce Onobrakpeya. Bruce Onobrakpeya. Bruce Onobrakpeya is a printmaker and also a painter. He's still alive. He's born in 1932, and he's still alive, and he's still working even till today. Now, let's look at some general impact that Bruce Onobrakpeya had on us, the young modern artist. All right. Bruce Onobrakpeya taught art at St. Gregory College, Lagos, Western Boys High School, Benin, and at Ondo Boys High School, thereby training future contemporary artists like me, because I've been under his tutoring. So he's a master in art. He's a master in what he does. Till today, like I'm telling you, like till today, he still works. Now, he has done so much to promote the image and the culture of the country, both in Nigeria and in the world at large. He's a distinctive style. He has a distinctive style which combines the decorative motif of some ethnic group. He has also created a lot of, writings. He created his own kind of letters, that he currently uses. He call it, I've forgotten the name he called it, but anyway, he has some of his paintings and some of his works that he made, that if you merge them together, they have several meanings. So that is his distinctive style. So Bruce Onobrakpeya is one of Nigerian contemporary artists that has actually made the country proud, and is still making us proud. Still very much alive till today. Okay, now Bruce Onobrakpeya, integration and membership of the Zaria Art Society or the Mbari Artist Workshop at Ibadan was a great encouragement to other artists. He has also been a source of inspiration to young artists through the various art professional bodies like the Society of Nigerian Artists, of which he was once the president. So Bruce Onobrakpeya has encouraged a lot of young artists in Nigeria to keep up doing what they are doing, just like he did to me, and I'm doing to you now, and I hope tomorrow you will do to the younger generation, to encourage them to still follow their passion and maintain what they are doing because it pays. Now, let's look at some of the things he did. Now, an annual Harmattan workshop is being organized by Onobrakpeya at Abarota in Delta State. Now, during which intending artists and those already in the profession are taught new and various techniques in printmaking and in other forms of what? Of art. So he organized this workshop for young upcoming artists where they come to try their hands, train themselves, learn new skills. And for those of us that are already practicing, and for those of us that are teachers, and for you that want to improve in art, it's a very good place to try. It's in Abarato in Delta State. You can go there and see what they have there. A massive place to be. I've been there like once or twice, so you can actually go there and give yourself a try. It's a yearly program. So that is that about Bruce Onobrakpeya. Okay, now let's do a quick summary and a rundown of his impact and what Bruce Onobrakpeya has done in the field of art. Now, Bruce Onobrakpeya, one of the greatest masters in Nigerian modern contemporary art, a renowned printmaker in Africa and abroad, born at Abarota in Delta State in 1932. His early education in Benin and Sapele, obtained diploma in fine arts and postgraduate art in art teaching. He has a certificate for the Nigerian College of Art, Science and Technology Zaria in 1961 and in 1962 respectively. Themes taken from Nigerian folktales and other aspects of culture among some ethnic groups. Some of his themes were taken from Nigerian folktales and some other art culture in different ethnic groups in Nigeria. His unique techniques include deep inching, bronze lining in relief, plaster casting, painting, and relief sculpture. He combined all of them to create his work. Executed many commissioned projects in and outside Lagos. To mention but a few, he made some glass mural and Murtala International Mohammed Airport in Lagos. There you see some of his painting. The Chapel of Resurrection in Ibadan. You go there, you see some of his work. He illustrated many books. Example is the African Night. For those of you that have seen the African Night, yes, some of his illustrations are there in the African Night. To mention, but if a whole lot, I can go on and on and on to mention some of the things that Bruce Onobrakpeya has done for art as a whole. Some examples of his popular prints are Boat Ragata, The Rain and Cry at Oturagbo, Three Spirits, Unaware, Ehoko, etc. You can go on and on to mention some of his work. Taught in some secondary schools, thereby promoting art education, promotes the image and culture of Nigeria, gives inspiration to younger artists, organizes annual Harmattan workshop at Obaroto for young upcoming artists and even practicing artists. So these are what Bruce Onobrakpeya have done to the field of art. Now, if you look closely, you see some of his prints and some of his works. Now, these works, some of them are relief. They are very massive. They are big. Some of them are very big. So these are some of his works. All right. Now, if you followed me through, you'll see we've discussed about 4 or 5 different contemporary Nigerian art. So now, in summary, initially I defined what contemporary art means. I told you this is the period that exists after, the Nigerian traditional art. So after this period, after the Nok art, Benin art, Ibuku art, etc., then we have the contemporary art in Nigeria. We also discuss how art started in Nigeria. There we mention who brought art into Nigerian schools, which is Chief Aina Onabolu. And we talked about the history of Aina Onabolu, how he started, how he promoted art, and how he made the government add art or get art involved in Nigerian education. Now we also talked about the list, as in we also made mention of some Nigerian contemporary artists, the likes of Ben Enwonwu, Bruce Onobrakpeya, etc., which we're going to look even more further in our next class. Okay, so now it's question time. All right, if you followed through all up to now, there are 2 simple questions I want you to try hands on. The first one I want you to try on is define contemporary art. Define contemporary art. Okay, did I hear you say it's a period that existed immediately after the period after traditional art? Then that is correct. All right, so question number 2, list 2 works produced by Chief Aina Onabolu. List 2 works produced by Chief Aina Onabolu. He made a portrait of who? You say Spencer. Okay, the risen Christ. Beautiful. All right. These and even more. That's Mr. Onabolu or Chief Onabolu did. Okay. So now let's dive into our exam guide. All right. Now, if you've been following us, you know how to go through the exam guide. So follow me now. Dive into your gadget. Let's answer some 1 or 2 questions from the exam guide. All right, we treated fine arts, which is the cultural and creative arts. So you pick the topics. I guess we know the topics. I choose, we talked about art history, which is what we are discussing for now. And okay, so you click get started. All right, today we are going to look at just 2 questions, and we can take more. So let's try question number 2. Professor Ben Enwonwu was born in Dash. I told you, we talked about Professor Ben Enwonwu. So when was he born? 1904, 1914, 1921, 1945, or year 2000? So when was Ben Enwonwu born? Did I hear you say 1904? 1921? 1914? Come on now. I won't help you with this. Go back and listen to my previous statement and then give me the answer to that question. All right, now let's try question number 10. Okay. Now, what was the name of the expatriate who started teaching of modern art in Nigeria? You remember I told you Professor Aina Onabolu brought some expatriates. So, what are their names? Just give me, I told you 2 names. 2 names. But here we have 1. They mentioned 1. So, if you said Bernard Fag, you're wrong. If you said Leo Frubonus, you're wrong. If you say Michael Crowder, you're wrong. If you say Ulibiara, you're wrong. And then if you say Kenneth Morel, you are very correct. So the answer is B.
Thank you for participating in today's class. You can practice more questions using the exam guide. Now the app scores and give a detailed explanation of all the questions at the end of your practice test. Now you can learn a particular topic of interest with different modes like study mode, mock mode, and practice mode. It also have other features that make learning fun. Now, it is a must-have for all serious students. Download the app from www.examguide.com if you don't have it yet. See you in the next class. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, and then share this video to anyone you know that would benefit from it. Thank you, and bye-bye.